What if the very thing you avoid, being alone, is the key to unlocking your greatest power? We're constantly told to seek connection, but this video will challenge that notion, revealing how profound personal strength and true independence are forged in the quiet fire of solitude. 1. The myth of constant connection. Look around you. Right now, someone is scrolling, someone is refreshing notifications, someone is nervously checking if they've been tagged, liked, or replied to. Our lives have become a constant hum of pings, vibrations, and the glow of screens. We've been conditioned to believe that being connected is synonymous with living. But pause for a second and ask yourself, are we truly connecting, or are we merely performing connection? Are we speaking to be heard, or are we shouting into the void, afraid of what silence might reveal? Social media seduces us with illusions. Smiling faces frozen in perfect frames, carefully curated moments that seem effortless and joyful, all silently whispering, look, they're living better than you. The fear of missing out, FOMO, isn't just a casual phrase for casual anxiety. It's a carefully engineered psychological trap, amplified by notifications and endless feeds, designed to keep us scrolling, keep us distracted, and keep us from confronting the uncomfortable truth. We are more alone in the noise than we are in silence. Think about it. You can be surrounded by hundreds of friends, yet feel completely invisible. You can chat endlessly, like post, share stories, and still return home to a hollow emptiness that no notification can fill. Studies in psychology have shown that constant social stimulation, without moments of introspection, erodes mental and emotional energy. It leaves us exhausted, anxious, and secretly lonely, like a moth circling a digital flame that burns bright but never warms. Even Aristotle, over 2,000 years ago, understood this. He wrote that true friendship is built on depth, virtue, and shared understanding, not on constant chatter or superficial presence. Friendship requires space, attention, and reflection. But what have we done in our modern age? We've sacrificed that depth for the illusion of visibility, trading profound connection for the shallow comfort of a like, a heart, or a fleeting comment. And here's a twist that most people never consider. This constant connectivity doesn't just steal our attention, it steals our sense of self. When we're always performing, always scrolling, always comparing, we lose touch with who we actually are. Our thoughts become fragmented, our desires muted, our creativity stifled. We are constantly reacting to others rather than listening to ourselves. And if you've ever felt that gnawing restlessness after hours of scrolling, an anxious, almost sickening void, that's the psychological cost of over-socialization. Consider this analogy. Trying to fill your life with endless connection without solitude is like trying to drink from a cup that has no water. You keep lifting it to your lips, hoping it will nourish you, but it is perpetually empty. And yet we keep lifting it. We keep scrolling. We keep posting. Why? Because the alternative, silence, is frightening. Silence forces us to confront thoughts we've buried, feelings we've ignored, and the unvarnished truth about who we are. Here's an uncomfortable truth. Society has normalized distraction as a virtue. To be busy is to be important. To be connected is to be worthy. Yet every moment spent reacting to someone else's life is a moment stolen from your own. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, reflected on this centuries ago. Loss is nothing else but change, and change is nature's delight. If we never step back, if we never disconnect, we never have the chance to see ourselves for who we really are, to understand our true desires, or to embrace our own unique power. And what if I told you that the very thing we fear, silence, solitude, being alone, is actually the antidote to the anxiety, the fatigue, and the hollowness that constant connection creates? What if stepping away, even briefly, could reveal a clarity you've never experienced, a freedom that social media and constant chatter can never give? That is the paradox. The world tells us to connect constantly, but it is in the quiet spaces, the pauses, and the moments we spend truly alone that our most authentic life begins. So before you pick up your phone again, before you scroll through one more story, ask yourself, Am I truly living this moment, or am I simply performing life for an audience that doesn't exist? The first step toward reclaiming your energy, your clarity, and your deepest sense of self begins with noticing the myth of constant connection and daring to step away. Because connection without solitude is an illusion, a shadow of intimacy, a performance masquerading as life. And the truth is simple, yet terrifying. Only when you are willing to be alone, truly alone, can you discover the depth, the power, and the freedom you have been searching for all along. If you're someone who values wisdom, truth, and self-discovery, remember to like, comment, and subscribe to Echoes of the Mind, where thought meets truth. 2. Embracing the uncomfortable quiet. The first time you sit with yourself, really sit, it's terrifying. Not just uncomfortable, it's a confrontation. Your mind churns with fear, doubt, and restlessness. You notice the things you've been avoiding, the questions about your life, the dreams you've pushed aside, the quiet whisper of your own dissatisfaction. Nietzsche once wrote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." Solitude is the forge that tests your why. It strips away the distractions, the constant chatter, the background noise of other people's expectations, and leaves you with yourself, the raw, unfiltered version of you. And that is exactly why it's uncomfortable. Our culture trains us to avoid silence at all costs. From childhood, we've been surrounded by noise, TVs, music, school bells, chat rooms, notifications. The world tells us, be social, be busy, be seen. Silence is painted as weakness, as something to fear. But here's the secret most never consider. Quiet is not a void. Quiet is not emptiness. Quiet is a mirror. It reflects what you have been too distracted to see. What if quiet isn't loneliness? What if it's the canvas upon which your truest self is painted? Think of it as standing before a blank page in a journal. At first you hesitate, unsure what to write. But once you begin, the thoughts flow. Your fears, your hopes, your values, they begin to reveal themselves. Even Socrates, centuries ago, insisted that an unexamined life is not worth living. Solitude is the unexamined life's antidote. It is the practice of looking inward, daring to face yourself without filters, without excuses, without performance. You don't have to leap into days of isolation overnight. Solitude is not punishment, it's training. Start small. Take 5 minutes without your phone. Walk somewhere without conversation, without distraction. Sit with your morning coffee and simply notice the warmth of the mug, the quiet hum of your surroundings, the rhythm of your own breathing. These moments may feel strange at first. Your mind will rebel. It will scream for distraction, for comfort, for company. But that resistance, that's the evidence of growth. That's the nervous tremor before transformation. Imagine standing in an empty room with nothing but your thoughts. At first, the walls seem to close in. You feel exposed. You may even feel panic, as if the quiet is accusing you of not being enough. But gradually, something extraordinary happens. The room stops feeling empty. You begin to see that each thought is not an enemy to be suppressed, but a doorway to insight. Every uncomfortable feeling, every memory you've been avoiding, every fragment of doubt carries a hidden message. The room, once threatening, becomes alive, filled with possibility, reflection, and potential. This is where curiosity meets courage. You begin asking questions you've never dared to ask yourself. Who am I beyond the roles I play? What do I actually want, not what others expect of me? What fears are holding me back, and why do I let them define me? These questions may be uncomfortable, even painful, but they are the doorway to a profound, unshakable clarity. And here's the paradox. Solitude, the thing we fear most, is the secret to the life we crave. The quiet doesn't isolate you. It reconnects you. It reconnects you to your intuition, your creativity, your ability to see your own desires clearly. Psychologists have found that brief periods of intentional solitude can dramatically improve emotional regulation, self-awareness, and even empathy. It strengthens your ability to think independently and act intentionally, instead of reacting impulsively to the noise of others. Even great minds understood this. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, wrote in his Meditations about retreating inward, about observing his own mind as if it were a city under careful inspection. Leonardo da Vinci worked in focused isolation for hours, letting his mind wander free of interruption, producing ideas centuries ahead of his time. The lesson is clear. The discomfort you feel in quiet is the crucible where brilliance and self-knowledge are forged. The key is persistence. At first, the urge to flee into distraction is overwhelming. You may feel hollow, impatient, restless. But over time, the discomfort becomes a companion rather than a threat. You begin to notice the richness of your thoughts, the clarity in your emotions, the subtle joy of simply being with yourself. Your mind, once scattered and anxious, begins to settle. You learn to sit with silence without flinching, and in that stillness, a new kind of strength emerges, quiet yet formidable. So the next time you feel the pull of distraction, the urge to scroll endlessly or fill every silence with noise, pause, step into the quiet, sit with yourself, embrace the discomfort, the restlessness, the fear. Ask the questions that frighten you. Explore the corners of your mind that have been shadowed by constant stimulation. You may be surprised by what you find. Insights you didn't know you were seeking, passions you thought were lost, and a sense of peace that no social feed can ever give. Solitude is not empty. It is not lonely. It is not punishment. It is a doorway, a passage into a richer, freer, more authentic life. And the best part? Once you've learned to sit with yourself, you will never look at silence the same way again. You will begin to see it as a gift, a hidden power, the quiet spark that lights your inner fire. Stick around until the very end so you don't miss a single insight this video has to reveal. 3. Solitude as a catalyst for self-discovery. Silence has a peculiar, almost paradoxical power. In the absence of external noise, your mind begins to whisper truths you've long ignored, truths that were always there, buried beneath layers of distraction, obligation, and performance. In solitude, these whispers grow louder, clearer, and impossible to ignore. You might feel the first stirrings of ideas you've never allowed yourself to explore, or confront questions you've carefully avoided. It is in these quiet moments that the raw, unedited version of yourself finally speaks. Think of creativity. Many of history's greatest minds, Thomas Edison, Nikola Tesla, Emily Dickinson, Isaac Newton, understood this instinctively. Edison, for instance, conducted long-thought experiments in isolation, sometimes deliberately cutting himself off from distractions for hours, even days. Tesla, too, walked the streets alone, letting his mind wander until it crystallized visions of inventions far ahead of his time. These weren't acts of escapism. They were rituals of self-discovery, environments in which their deepest ideas could surface, untainted by comparison, judgment, or societal expectation. You see, solitude uncovers more than creativity. It uncovers you, your true values, the desires that make your heart quicken, the fears that secretly hold you hostage, and the passions society may have convinced you are frivolous. Plato argued that true knowledge requires turning inward, examining your soul, and questioning everything you think you know about yourself. Without solitude, these questions go unanswered. You are so immersed in external expectations, other people's opinions, and the constant noise of modern life that the authentic voice inside, your intuition, your curiosity, your longing, gets drowned out. Imagine yourself as a miner standing at the entrance of a cave. Outside, the world is alive with noise. Social media, chatter, obligations, endless alerts. This is the dirt, the debris, the distractions. If you try to mine your own life without first clearing away the external clutter, your tools break. You dig through rubble, but the gold remains hidden. Solitude clears the path. It removes the noise, the judgment, the unnecessary chatter. Once this debris is lifted, what glints in the sunlight of your undivided attention is the treasure of self-understanding. Solitude also acts as a mirror. When you are alone, you cannot escape your own reflection. Your thoughts, behaviors, and emotional patterns are laid bare. And here's an uncomfortable truth. Most people avoid this reflection because it can be confronting. You may notice habits that are holding you back, fears that seem irrational but rule your decisions, or desires that conflict with the identity you've performed for the world. But this confrontation is precisely where transformation begins. By facing yourself fully, without judgment, without distraction, you gain the clarity necessary to design a life aligned with your deepest truths. And there's more. Solitude fosters a depth of insight that social interaction rarely provides. When you are alone, your mind has the space to make unexpected connections, to see patterns, and to solve problems in ways that constant stimulation never allows. Albert Einstein described moments of profound insight that came during quiet walks, not while immersed in noise or discussion. Creativity and self-discovery are inseparable because knowing yourself truly, profoundly, is the first step to producing anything authentic in life. Here's a subtle yet radical thought. The passions and values that define you are not found in others' approval or societal expectation. They are discovered in the stillness where no one else is watching. Many of us chase validation through likes, shares, and applause, believing this is what shapes our identity. But the deeper truth is that the person you are alone, when no one else is around, is the only version worth knowing. That version, once acknowledged, cannot be hidden. Let's stretch the analogy further. Mining for gold is not neat or easy. The process is grueling. There will be false veins, ideas or desires that seem precious but dissolve under scrutiny. You may confront your own fears, regrets, or insecurities that feel like rock blocking the way, but these obstacles are part of the journey. Without them, the treasure loses its value. Solitude is the patient miner's pickaxe. It reveals what is authentic, what is enduring, and what can sustain you when external validation fades. And here's the final paradox that keeps so many from embracing this path. Solitude feels like separation, but it is actually the key to connection. By discovering yourself, your values, and your passions, you return to the world not desperate for acceptance, but fully present. You bring depth to conversations, insight to relationships, and clarity to collaborations. The more you know yourself, the more authentically you can connect with others, not out of need, but from abundance. So when you feel the pull to fill every silence, to escape the stillness, to scroll or talk to avoid yourself, remember this. Inside the quiet lies your life's hidden architecture. Your unacknowledged ideas, your unspoken truths, your untapped potential, they are waiting for you to show up. The moment you embrace solitude, you step into the workshop of your own mind, where the raw material of your being can finally be molded into the life you were meant to lead. In the end, solitude is not a punishment. It is a revelation, a catalyst, a laboratory for your mind, heart, and soul. The deeper you go, the more you find yourself, and the brighter your light becomes, so that when you return to the noise of the world, you do so with clarity, purpose, and unshakable authenticity. 4. Cultivating independent strength. When you embrace solitude, something remarkable begins to happen. You become your own anchor. Not in a superficial way, not as a shield against the world, but as a foundation so steady that storms of opinion, expectation, and external pressure bounce off rather than pull you under. Suddenly, the decisions you make aren't guided by what will impress, appease, or placate others. They emerge from a place of clarity, authenticity, and courage. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, spent years reflecting inwardly, observing his own mind as if it were a city in need of careful governance. In those moments of quiet reflection, he strengthened his capacity to act decisively and wisely amid chaos. This is not ancient wisdom locked in history. It is a practice available to you right now. Independent strength is often misunderstood. Many assume it must look like arrogance, isolation, or self-centeredness. But it is none of these. True strength is resilience, the ability to face life on your own terms, to navigate challenges without losing yourself in the expectations or judgments of others. It is the quiet power that allows you to speak your truth calmly, act from purpose rather than impulse, and respond to adversity with measured thought instead of reactionary emotion. Here's the twist most people miss. Cultivating this strength doesn't make you distant or cold in relationships. On the contrary, It deepens your connections in ways that constant dependence never can. When you are whole in yourself, when your self-worth is not borrowed from likes, validation, or approval, you bring fullness into every interaction. You are not needy, anxious, or searching for affirmation. You are present. Your relationships transform from transactions of attention into shared experiences of depth, honesty, and respect. Imagine a tree planted on a cliffside, its roots weaving deep into the rock and soil, drawing strength from a place unseen. Storms rage, winds howl, but the tree remains unshaken. Its branches bend, but do not break. That tree is you when you cultivate independent strength. Each act of solitude, each decision made from your inner compass, deepens your roots. Each reflection, each moment of self-confrontation fortifies your foundation. And just like that tree, when life's inevitable tempests arrive, disappointment, loss, betrayal, or doubt, you do not crumble. You endure. You grow. You rise. Independent strength is not built overnight. It is forged in the repeated choices to confront discomfort rather than flee, to stand alone when conformity tempts, to listen to your inner voice when the world shouts. Every small act matters. A morning spent in reflection, a difficult conversation approached with calm authenticity, a boundary drawn in your personal or professional life. All of these seemingly small actions are repetitions of the muscle of independence. Over time, the muscle grows, and with it, a confidence that does not boast, a calm that does not require constant reassurance, and a presence that draws rather than clings. Philosophers and thinkers throughout history understood this invisible power. Nietzsche spoke of the Übermensch, the individual who creates values from within rather than bending to societal norms. Bonhoeffer, in his reflections on courage and moral responsibility, suggested that true strength is often cultivated in solitude, away from the chorus of voices that seek to dictate behavior. Even contemporary psychology supports this. Studies show that people who engage in intentional solitude and self-reflection exhibit higher resilience, better decision-making, and increased emotional intelligence. Solitude is not avoidance. It is preparation. It is sharpening the blade of your inner self so that when you engage with the world, you do so with precision, clarity, and integrity. Consider the modern world: endless noise, constant connection, and social comparison. It's easy to lose yourself in the tide of other people's expectations, to borrow confidence from external sources that are fleeting and unreliable. But independent strength is your personal antidote. It is the realization that your power does not reside in the approval of others, the applause of crowds, or the affirmation of peers. It resides in the quiet certainty that you know yourself, and in knowing yourself, you know how to navigate the world without being swept away. And here is the most profound aspect. When you cultivate this inner strength, your presence in the world changes. You become magnetic, not because you demand attention, but because you emanate authenticity. You attract people, opportunities, and experiences that resonate with your true self, rather than those dictated by fear, habit, or external expectation. You engage with life fully, choosing participation rather than performance. You step into challenges not with hesitation, but with quiet courage. So, envision yourself as that cliffside tree again. The storms may come, the winds may howl, yet your roots are deep, your branches flexible, and your presence unwavering. That is the power of cultivating independent strength. It is not about isolation, nor is it about being unapproachable. It is about building an internal fortress so solid, so anchored in truth and self-awareness, that when you re-enter the world, you do so not weakened, but enhanced. Not desperate, but empowered. Not reactive, but intentional. Independent strength is the hidden architecture of your life. It is the muscle that will carry you through uncertainty, the compass that will guide you in chaos, and the silent power that allows you to love, create, and act without losing yourself. And the remarkable truth: the more grounded you are in yourself, the more generous, compassionate, and present you can be in the world. Solitude is the gym where this strength is trained, and every moment you choose it is another repetition that builds the life you were always capable of living. 5. The solitude paradox, re-entering with power. Solitude isn't a punishment. It isn't exile. It isn't a retreat from life. At first, it may feel that way. The world's chatter suddenly seems louder, and the silence you embraced can feel like a thin, fragile veil. But here's the paradox. Solitude is not an escape. It is a secret training ground, a laboratory for your mind, heart, and soul. And when you finally return to the world, you do so with something extraordinary, a clarity, a presence, and a power that no social interaction alone could ever give you. Think of it like diving beneath the surface of a stormy sea. Above, the waves crash endlessly, tumultuous and chaotic. But beneath, in the quiet depths, you discover an entirely different world. A calm, expansive space where everything slows down, your senses sharpen, and the currents of your mind move with precision rather than panic. Solitude allows you to dive inward in this way, to explore the hidden depths of your mind, and emerge with the rare ability to navigate the surface world with intention, confidence, and grace. When you return from intentional isolation, the ordinary transforms. Conversations feel richer. You listen in ways you never could before, attuned to the subtext, the nuance, the heartbeat behind words. Laughter is deeper because it's no longer performative. It's genuine, unburdened by the need to impress. Even conflicts which once left you anxious or drained feel manageable because you have discovered the ability to stand firm in your own center. You have built an internal compass, one that guides your reactions and interactions not through fear or need, but through awareness and choice. This is not a new concept. Machiavelli, writing in the courts of Renaissance princes, observed that the most effective rulers often sought retreats from their courts, not to hide, but to sharpen judgment, reflect on strategy, and refine their thinking away from the incessant pressures of expectation. In modern terms, solitude serves a similar function. It allows your mind to reset, your priorities to align, and your emotional energy to recover. By stepping away intentionally, you return not depleted, but empowered, not reactive, but deliberate. And here's the most fascinating part. Your relationships, once dependent on constant interaction, transform. Why? Because you are no longer seeking validation. You are no longer filling silence with chatter for the sake of approval. Instead, you bring your whole self into every connection, the authentic, unfiltered, self-aware version of you. This authenticity is magnetic. It allows others to show up as themselves, not as a mirror of what you want, but as participants in a genuine exchange. It's a rare form of human interaction that cannot exist without the foundation of solitude. Consider this. Every relationship, every friendship, every conversation we have carries a subtle energy of give and take. When you are disconnected from yourself, you give from lack, constantly seeking affirmation, attention, or reassurance. But after time in solitude, you give from abundance. Your presence itself becomes a gift. You are not asking for life to happen to you. You are actively participating, fully engaged, yet unshakable. That is the hidden power of returning from solitude. Even modern psychology validates this. Studies show that intermittent periods of intentional solitude improve creativity, focus, and emotional regulation. The brain functions differently when it is allowed to process thoughts without constant external input. Problem solving, insight, and perspective sharpen, not because you have more information, but because you have clarity. And when clarity is present, your interactions gain depth, your decisions gain authenticity, and your life begins to feel aligned with your values rather than scattered by external noise. The paradox, then, is almost poetic. The more time you spend alone, fully present with yourself, the more powerfully you can engage with the world. It is counterintuitive because society equates isolation with weakness. But the truth is precisely the opposite. Solitude strengthens, it clarifies, and it amplifies the impact of your presence. You return not hollow, not fractured, but whole, capable of forming deeper connections, contributing meaningfully, and approaching life with a perspective grounded in your own inner foundation. Here's the challenge and the invitation. Integrate intentional solitude into your daily life, not as punishment, not as withdrawal, but as a deliberate practice of self-empowerment. Start small, perhaps a silent morning before the world awakens, a walk where your only companion is your own breath. Journaling and reflection, without concern for judgment or productivity. Gradually, these pockets of quiet become a rhythm, a foundation, a source of energy you can draw from anytime. And imagine the ripple effect. The clarity, resilience, and authenticity cultivated in solitude spill over into every domain of life: work, creativity, relationships, and personal growth. You begin to notice subtleties in the world that previously went unnoticed, patterns in your own thoughts and behavior, and opportunities that only reveal themselves to the focused, grounded mind. You return to the noise of society not weakened by absence, but enriched by presence. You interact not as a fragmented self, but as someone who has been tempered by reflection, tested by quiet, and sharpened by insight. Solitude is a paradox because it is both a withdrawal and an arrival. You leave the world temporarily to find yourself, and in finding yourself, you enter it anew, powerful, deliberate, and present. It is a secret few understand, a strength few cultivate, and a gift few truly experience. And the remarkable truth, anyone can access it. The quiet is waiting. Your mind is waiting. Your truest self is waiting. All you have to do is step inside, lean into the discomfort, and discover the extraordinary power of simply being with yourself. Solitude is not your enemy. It is the crucible in which your resilience, creativity, and deepest self are forged. As Bonhoeffer once reflected, being alone with God is never solitary. It is a dialogue with the infinite. Whether you interpret that spiritually or personally, the lesson remains. In quiet, we find power. So I leave you with this. What small choice can you simplify today to reclaim your peace of mind? Maybe it's turning off your phone for an hour, taking a silent walk, or simply sitting with your thoughts. The path to your greatest power has been waiting in the quiet all along. If this video resonated with you, helped you see the world a little differently, or stirred something deep within, subscribe to Echoes of the Mind for more weekly explorations into philosophy, consciousness, and the unseen forces shaping our lives. Comment below your thoughts. And if you found value in this, leave a like. It helps more deep thinkers find their way here.